A military veteran, accomplished martial artist, and creative force behind the lore of G.I. Joe, Larry Hama undertook an ambitious endeavor when creating a new story all his own. What he did with Nth Man was take everything from the 80s and anticipate the extreme nature of the 90s, then bundle it up in 16 issues. So what happens when you combine Rambo, the Terminator, the Fantastic Four, World War III, Mad Max, and American Ninja together? Let's find out. Nth Man, the Ultimate Ninja, is one of the wildest comics Marvel ever published. And although the series only lasted for a little over a year, it still stands as one of the weirdest and most overlooked Marvel tales ever published. It only ran for 16 issues, but it's remembered as a visionary blend of gritty, realistic military action, fantastic ninja combat, and wide-eyed science fiction. Nth Man, the Ultimate Ninja, also known as John Doe, created by Larry Hama and Ron Wagner, first appeared in August 1989 in Marvel Comics Presents number 25 before getting his own 16-issue limited series. John Doe looks like the 80s idea of an all-American action star, with a white-haired mullet. He's tall, lean, and muscular, with army green trousers and no shirt. He must have sensitive nipples. He is the Ultimate Ninja, so naturally, he has peak ninja skills, peak ninja reflexes, and is an expert with any weapon imaginable. He also knows how to operate any military vehicle he comes across. Seriously, it's like Larry Hama rolled every G.I. Joe member into one. He has one supernatural ninja trick. He can confuse his enemy's mind so they think gravity is flipped. He calls this the upside down trick. But just like his ninja skills, his heart is extreme too. And his kind heart gets him into trouble sometimes, like looking out for his friend Alfie, and we'll find out with a friend like Alfie he doesn't need enemies. And, unfortunately for Nth Man, he's stuck in a bootstrap paradox, doomed to repeat the same cycle of life over and over and over. Here's Nth Man's story. John Doe is named John Doe because he is a foundling. He and his lifelong frenemy, Alfie Omegan, were left on the doorstep of the Maryville Home for Boys in Iowa on February 3rd, 1959. I promise, the date matters. They were dropped off by a woman who claimed one boy is very good and one boy is very bad, and then she spontaneously combusted. There's no indication of any biological relation between the boys, but they end up spending the next 9 years of their lives together at the boys' home. The two grow to be like brothers, in that they sometimes get along and they sometimes don't, but they were always close. During these early years, John learned of Alfie's considerable superhuman abilities. Alfie can change things with his mind. This power would increase over time. As an adult, Alfie is virtually omnipotent and omniscient, and can transform matter as well as travel through space and time, even hopping dimensions at one point. As children, John and Alfie would often go into a trance-like state that Alfie called the could-be's. Together, that would allow them to perceive events at different points in time, including their own future. Alfie's unusual nature drew unwanted attention from bullies, and when John stood up for his friend, he got many beatings on Alfie's behalf. Alfie also happens to be a die-hard Fantastic Four fan, a fact that will come back around soon. The primary adults at Maryville are Mr. Bigot and Nurse Gooch, and neither are really the loving parent figure type. The boys went their separate ways when John and Alfie were adopted by different families. Alfie is adopted by a childless married couple named the Omegans, making his name Alfie Omegan. You know, kinda like Alpha and Omega. Alfie gains new powers at the Omegans' farm, and seeks immediate revenge on one of his bullies by using telepathy on Mr. Bigot. He drives Bigot into a murderous rage to kill a kid named Huey. In his mind-possessed rage, Bigot knocks Nurse Gooch out with an axe handle, and her cigarette starts a fire. The kids escape the burning orphanage while Bigot chases them with an axe. John recognizes it as Alfie acting through Bigot and steps in. Alfie's mind-controlled Axeman turns his rage on John, but one of the bullies helps him get out of the fiery nightmare, but Bigot and Gooch perish in the blaze. As the fire burns out, John is adopted by an intriguing dentist named Doc Yagyu to live in Pasadena, and the new dad has written authorization of the President of the United States to take custody of John. Dr. Yagyu also carries CIA identification. John promises to write and then speeds off with Doc in his Corvette convertible. Yagyu reveals that the president's letter is a fake and gives John his first test by revving the vet up to 130 miles per hour and telling John it's up to him to get him to brake. John forces him to brake by steering towards a bridge column. It turns out that John's adoptive father is a ninja, not a dentist. I bet his mother wishes he'd gone the dentist route, you know? You see, Ninja Dad had been in Vietnam with the son of a lady who worked at the boys' home. When he came by the place to break the news to her that her son had died, he sensed an incredible power in Alfie. But he also sensed that John had innate ninja potential and decided to train him. I wonder why nobody noticed my ninja potential when I was a kid. When John arrives at his new home, he notices a bedroom with a padlock on the outside. Yeah, that's kind of a red flag. When Yagyu leaves to perform a root canal, wait! He really is a dentist? And a ninja? I feel like such an underachiever. John peers through the keyhole and sees that Doc Yagyu used to have a son. After he died, Doc Yagyu locked the door and left it exactly how it was. Maybe less creepy? Smash cut to John's adulthood, and he's imprisoned in Moscow as a CIA assassin. Oh, and this is also 6 months after the outbreak of World War III. I probably should have started with that. He's been held prisoner for a year, but his captor, Colonel Novikova, has neglected to interrogate him personally. Also, Alfie has destroyed the entire world's nuclear arsenal, so a conventional world war is underway between NATO, with China on its side, versus the Soviet Union. I mean, it could happen, right? Other conflicts over disputed territory also flare up across the globe. John escapes his Soviet captors and meets up with two fellow Americans, his adoptive dentist ninja father and a specialist named Sergeant Deb Levin. Doc mentions that John's mission is to terminate Alfie, but John insists he is through with being an assassin. While fleeing Moscow, the Americans stop to help some Russian children, and Colonel Novikova flies over in a chopper. A Russian Boy Scout fires a flare to let the Soviet colonel know the Americans are there. Nth Man draws the fire of the chopper and escapes, only to encounter Alfie O'Megan for the first time in over 10 years. Alfie forces John to experience a flashback to when John took the blame for killing a kitten that Alfie had killed. Jeez, what's up with this Alfie guy? Killing kittens? We get it, Alfie. You're evil. The flashback ends and the helicopter is ready to blast him. But Nth Man takes the Russian Boy Scouts rocket launcher. Yeah, rocket launcher. This comic's insane. And the Boy Scout's name is Sasha, by the way. Nth Man uses the weapon to disable the chopper while Alfie promises to visit him again. Nth Man also finds out an American colonel gave the order to kill civilians. He shoots the guy in the kneecap. Nth Man explains to the Boy Scout Sasha that his loyalties are not bound by nationality. Colonel Darling, the American guy John kneecapped, orders an attack on a Soviet field hospital, and this throws Nth Man into a flashback of his time at the orphanage and leaves him in a zombie-like trance. The Soviet lady colonel, Novikova, arrives on the scene, and Sasha, the Russian Boy Scout, begs her to spare the three Americans since they help rescue the Russian kids. Novikova sends soldiers after them anyway, and the dentist and the sergeant drag entranced Nth Man into some tall grass to flee. Novikova's helicopter takes off with the rescued children, but Sasha decides to follow his new American friends. Nth Man snaps out of his flashback and ninjas the heck out of the Russian soldiers, with help from Doc the ninja dentist and Deb the army sergeant. The three Americans and Sasha the Russian Boy Scout hide in a barn. The next day, elite Russian commandos arrive at the farm where they're hiding. As the Russian commandos approach them, Nth Man uses a non-lethal superpower of disorienting the enemy to defuse the situation. He uses that upside-down trick I told you about. As John disorients the commandos, a Russian sniper takes aim at him, but Alfie puts a Galactic gauntlet between Nth Man and the bullet headed for his face. See? I told you he was a Fantastic Four fan! A bullet does hit Doc. which prompts John to break the shooter's neck, saying, "I loved that man." Nth Man then picks up a machine gun and mows down the other commandos. Yagyu reveals that he's unharmed by the gunshot since he was wearing body armor. I feel like he could have said something about that sooner, you know? There's also a guy named Sergeant that protects Nth Man from Colonel Darling when he arrives. Nth Man goes after the sniper, a guy named Soloviev, who's still shooting at him. Before he reaches the sniper, he stumbles upon a secret missile complex housing biological weapons, then gets tackled by Novikova. Man, this story moves fast. I'm trying to summarize here, but I hate to leave out any of this action. They crash through a window, and next thing you know, they're at the Lincoln Memorial where Alfie is Galactus sitting in Lincoln's chair. See, I couldn't leave that out, and you really needed some context in this totally awesome, but also totally bananas story. Alfie heals the team and helps them escape, but in return he expects an undisclosed favor to be named later. I've got a bad feeling about this. Still in Galactus form, Alfie makes comic book style outfits for Nth Man and Novikova. Oh, and Alfie declares himself the center of the universe. Nth Man calls Alfie a geek, and Alfie places Nth Man and Novikova into a video game where they have 3 lives to finish the game or die. Alfie is the final boss of the game and takes one of their lives and sends them back to the start. As the game is going on, missiles with plague toxin warheads fly toward America, where Soviet tanks stage an attack via Canada. Alfie turns his attention on the missiles and the video game pauses, but Nth Man and Novikova can still move and they climb out to reality. They emerge from a television, and Nth Man and Novikova are taken hostage by American soldiers in hazmat suits and told that warheads are about to strike. While Alfie is neutralizing the warheads, a guy named General Foster confronts Alfie with his adoptive parents. You see, Alfie thought they were dead, but they were actually being held captive by the CIA. General Foster reveals the Omegans were CIA plants, and happily faked their deaths to get away from Alfie. Jeez, talk about hitting a guy in a sore spot. This distracts Alfie from the warheads, and instead he crushes the helicopter carrying General Foster and his parents. Nth Man and Novikova are brought before General McMahon of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who send the two back to deal with Alfie after warheads are detonated. On the way to the Lincoln Tunnel, Nth Man lays the smackdown on some Russian spies. Novikova, who Nth Man now calls Novi-Cakes, flees during the ruckus. John follows her to a safe house and is taken hostage by KGB swallows. He, doesn't seem to mind that part. Nth Man escapes the swallows' love nest when he overhears a radio transmission from Doc Yagyu, who's attempting to land a skyjacked Soviet bomber in Washington. John abducts Novikova from the safe house along with a radio and a Ferrari. Novikova drives the Ferrari while Nth Man helps Doc land on Pennsylvania Avenue. Of course, during all this, Novikova reveals her romantic feelings for John Doe. It was the 80s. This kind of stuff happened all the time. Nth Man and Novikova speed away, and John tells Novikova that he doesn't want to be an assassin anymore. Meanwhile, Bigot, the mean guy from the orphanage that appeared to die in the fire, is a zombie, and he's recruiting mutated people to become Alfie's army. He does this using a piece of Alfie's power. There's a big dust-up between Russian and American agents, and Nth Man ends it all by throwing a grenade down a tank turret. Then, the story jumps forward a year. Earth is a Mad Max-style ruin divided by mutants loyal to Alfie and healthy humans. Alfie's army is entirely made up of disfigured cannibals. Nth Man raids a mutant stronghold to retrieve General McMahon's skull and incapacitates the mutant leader Spikeface. He unmasks him to find out that it's Huey, the older bully from the orphanage. Nth Man and his allies go to Mr. Bigot and Nurse Gooch and free the mutants from their control. They arrive at Bigot's mink ranch and find the kindly orphanage cook, Mrs. Parrish. She says there's something wrong about John Doe. He is fundamentally different than he was as a child. Alfie and his CIA psychologist, Dr. Goodstroke, return to Earth with the Lincoln Memorial and come to the house where Nth Man is staying. Alfie begs John to fight Magub-Gub, the cosmic being that pursued Alfie across the universe for the past year. Then, Bigot and Gooch return from a hole in time, and they say they've gone back to 1974 and killed John Doe. Next thing you know, we're in 1974, when that era's Doc Yagyu and John Doe have traveled from California to the CIA skunk farm in hopes of calming Alfie. Alfie's distraught about the fake death of his parents. I mean, he didn't know it was a fake death yet, that's why he was distraught. He thought it was a real death. At the CIA farm, Doc pulls Sergeant aside and says John is too saintly to be made into a ninja. John comforts Alfie, and the time-traveling Bigot and Gooch shows up and kill John. Yagyu tells Alfie to use his powers to bring John back to life, which he does, but John comes back changed. Sometimes dead is better. This version of John Doe is capable of killing, as well as becoming Nth Man, the ultimate ninja. Back in the present, Alfie returns Bigot and Gooch to lifeless corpses. Alfie begs John's forgiveness, which he grants Alfie. Before they can catch their breath, Sergeant notices something massive in the sky. Alfie reveals it's Magub-Gub, and Magub-Gub wants to destroy Earth. John gets mad at Alfie for the first time because he led Magub-Gub to Earth. I would have gotten mad about the whole kitten thing myself. Alfie explains he couldn't defeat Magub-Gub, and he came home because Nth Man could defeat him. Alfie transfers his power to Nth Man, who becomes a giant. John tackles Magub-Gub, shouting, "I'm not gonna let my world get nullified by a butt-naked blue thing." Is that a Dr. Manhattan reference? Nth Man uses the upside-down world trick, which causes Magub-Gub to fall in on himself like a black hole. But before he dies, Magub-Gub realizes that Nth Man is the temporal anomaly he sought to destroy, and blasts Nth Man with this knowledge. Alfie hurries to congratulate John, but John punches him in the nose. He draws the conclusion that the only way to save the world is for John and Alfie to relive their lives up to the present point as a loop. Nth Man now has greater power than Alfie, since it is unblemished by envy and hate, and transforms himself into a pure version of himself, how he would be if Alfie did not reanimate him. Yagyu is saddened that he must say goodbye to his adopted son, but John reassures him that his next protege is just over the hill. It turns out to be the Russian Boy Scout Sasha. As Nth Man carries Alfie to the past, Novikova follows them, saying she can't live without Nth Man. She wakes up in the snow, hears crying babies, and delivers them to the nearby Maryville home for boys. Seeing the newspaper on the doorstep, she realizes it is the day she was born and spontaneously combusts, since a person can't exist in two forms in the same time. As she burns to death, she hands the baby John and Alfie to Gooch, telling her one of them is very, very good, the other is very, very bad. So that's his simple story of an orphan ninja assassin and his omnipotent friend surviving World War III and post-apocalyptic civil war, punctuated with a transdimensional existential threat. All in a day's work, right? Ninja have come in all shapes, sizes, and styles over the years, but there's only one ultimate ninja for me. That's John Doe, Nth Man, the ultimate ninja. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content from comic books and related media. Don't forget to hit the like button. Also, if you hit the bell, you'll never miss an episode. And remember, until next time, heroes are super.